Anthony, thank you. Right now, Georgia's child welfare system is facing an $85 million funding shortfall, and children and families are already feeling the impact. Land News First reporter Abby Kasoris explains why state leaders warn this system is under severe strain.
Right now, state leaders say that Georgia doesn't have enough foster homes funding or caseworkers to handle demand. During a state committee meeting last month, advocates warned that the system caring for abused and neglected children is nearing a breaking point.
This shortfall has resulted in a near total shutdown of services for children and families.
The Department of Family and Children's Services says federal cuts, staffing shortages, and a lack of foster placements are stretching the system, leaving fewer safe options for children who often come in with trauma, instability, and significant mental health needs.
Fighting a forest fire with a squirt bottle.
DFACS Commissioner Candace Brose became emotional as she told lawmakers limited funding forces her agency to make impossible choices, decisions that affect where children sleep and the care they receive.
I am being forced to make decisions that nobody wants to make.
Nonprofit providers say prevention and wraparound services like transportation, in-home therapy, and behavioral support are under scrutiny or at risk of cuts, even though these programs help children stay safe and stable.
When the child and the family's needs aren't centered, what happens is that the kids fall through the cracks.
State Representative Kim Schofield helped author legislation on child welfare and says lawmakers must act quickly when the General Assembly returns and put children first.
We have the opportunity when things go awry to step in and step up. We have to do that right now. Our time is up.
The governor's office said in a statement that they're aware of the issue and that state lawmakers have already appropriated more than $50 million in current and future budgets to help address the shortfall. Costs continue to rise. The governor will present his version of next year's budget when state lawmakers reconvene at the state capitol this month. In Atlanta, I'm Abby Kasoris.